everybody, and welcome back to Simian Jimmy's Treehouse. I am Simian Jimmy, joined today by a man who I podcasted with on the Simian Jimmy channel probably 4 years ago at this point. A video called A Conversation with Nostalgia Teen Critic, aka Baseball Sam 1, aka Baseball Sam 2. Welcome to the show.
Hey, yeah, that's not the name I go by, NTC. It's just Sam now.
Right. Well, that's what everybody listening at home is going to know you by, but of course we can transition them into the new era of Baseball Sam.
Well, that era kind of started, I think it probably got started after we did that interview 4 years ago.
Yeah, and in case people don't know what we're talking about, because it was so long ago, and even I hardly remember that video because I don't really rewatch my own shit. Basically, the long lore of it is, what was it, maybe 2018, you and I were in some sort of group together.
Yeah.
What was that called?
It was called, I think it was, what was it, Super Critics, something like that?
The Critic Titans?
The Critic Titans, yes, that's what it was.
Which, I mean, to me, it was very funny because it's like 8 YouTubers who all have probably like 40 subscribers each, you know, and they're like, hey, let's start a little group together. And then I come in with like hundreds of thousands of subs and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll join, why not? And so
yeah, bring some legitimacy to the group.
Yeah, well, I just thought it was really funny, and then really, none of us really did anything. I don't know if the group amounted to anything or if any real videos came out of it.
I think there was like a couple of collaboration videos here and there. I remember, I believe it was NTC Jr. and I collaborated when we talked about the Star Wars Holiday Special, and then there was somebody named... He used to call himself Richard Cora Kenobi. I think he still makes videos. I haven't seen some of his stuff in a while, but I still keep track of what he does on Twitter. And he did a collaboration with him as well, but it was one that took months and months and months, and that was when the Critics Titan thing just kind of snowballed.
Do you keep in contact with any of those people, or do you just kind of watch their new stuff as it comes out?
Let's see. There's like a few I haven't really communicated with. Once in a while, Richard Cora Kenobi, just based on, I guess, replies on Twitter. Alex Carson, I do keep in contact with her. I've done a couple of collaborations with her on like some comic dub videos that I've done. TC Jr., no contact.
Oh, you don't talk to NTC Jr., Nostalgia Teen Critic Jr. He's your own son, and you don't speak to him.
No. He was NC Jr. No, not that. Okay. So NC Jr. is what I'm saying, not NTC Jr.
Oh, God, I'm so confused.
Yeah, there's like all these different, like, I think there was one video that I found somewhere that was trying to rank all of the Nostalgia Critic ripoffs, and I was in that video. I started in amongst a couple others, and I think that guy at the very end said, NTC Jr. was my favorite.
Well, I do also watch NTC Jr.'s videos as they come out. There's some sort of phone computer noise that keeps going off. Is there any way you could mute that in the background?
Oh yeah, that's a notification. My bad.
Yeah, you're Mr. Popular, it sounds like. You got message and notifications going off like crazy.
No, that's just like, I have the MLB app and a Yankee game's going on right now.
Oh, shit. So anyway, next step in this story, 2019, I think, I'm doing a live stream and I think, hey, I'm going to show off my favorite Nostalgia Teen Critic Baseball Sam video to everybody on stream. And
right.
thank God that I did, because now that your channel was deleted, and we'll get into all that, in a little bit, this might be the only archive of, in my opinion, your greatest video. So I watched the whole video and did a reaction on stream. And then after, I thought, hey, it looks like Sam is online, or, somehow I contacted you, and then we did a little interview. And my full video reaction and our interview are still up on my Simian Jimmy channel.
About a 2-hour, 7-minute video. Like, think of like the actual runtime of Elite Orchard's Everything Wrong with Steven Universe thing. The Steven Universe thing is garbage, and here's why. Except the Simian Jimmy one was more tolerable.
Yeah, that's my go-to as well. When I need to compare something to being 2 hours, I compare it to that Steven Universe video, and not like a movie.
Yeah.
But you said last night, some things were said on that interview 4 years ago that you would like to clear the air about? And as somebody, like I said earlier, who has not rewatched it, I honestly don't even remember what we talked about. So
it just kind of veered off on different topics because you did your reaction and it was on, I think it was Atop the Fourth Wall, or I think that was like it had Fourth Wall in the title of the Teen Titans Go episode that I reviewed. It was one that had one of my characters just giving me a hard time throughout it, just making fun of me, mocking what I did, then adding in some of your mama jokes for good measure, getting me very pissed off. And what wrapped it up at the very end was like, hey, knock this off. And then, of course, I actually found the video itself, and there's like 300 something comments in there, and there was some real gems like, I love how blissfully unaware of your mocking memes he is. What a pure child.
Was I mocking you a lot? Because I know I'm a big bully, and most of my friends end up not being my friends anymore because of it.
Yeah, there was what happened was that I think it was Alex Carson that told me that you were doing a stream that involved you watching that video. And I found this out, and I think once you were done with your reaction to it, that's when I got into contact with you, because that's when I think you were on your old Discord account. And so we just decided to make up like an entire Q&A thing right on the spot. So I was watching your stream on my laptop, but then I went off into another room to do the rest of the interview on my phone, and that's how I couldn't see, your poker face every single time I gave you a stupid answer. I talked way too much. That was something that a lot of people in the comment section got really, kind of tired of. They kind of were like gritting their teeth, cringing at it. Saying things like, okay, this kid talks way too much. Why is he going into this kind of stuff? Like, God, shut up.
Well, Sam, I guess 2 points. One, I am just a living clown. I'm like half monkey, half clown. So don't buy too much into any facial expressions I'm making. Like, I'm also partially autistic, so I might be overplaying my emotions for the camera at times. And truth be told, I am a genuine fan of you and that video, and if I was trying to be funny, I was trying to be funny, but I actually do respect you as a man, so don't take that, like I was trying to clown on you too much. And number two, fuck the comments. You shouldn't even be reading the fucking comments. I try to avoid comments most of the time. People are just fucking mean, who cares what they say?
For my videos, at least on my channel, getting a comment on something is, like whether if it's just first or just a regular comment here and there, like, I remember this episode or this or that. I mean, there's the videos that I make, sometimes it's like maybe 2, maybe 3 comments every once in a while. I think the one that's the most popular on my new channel now, Baseball Sam 2, if you guys want to check it out. Yes, this was kind of a very, obvious advertisement. My apologies. But like, I think it was like 50 something comments on that video. That's like the most I ever gotten. It's never like 100 or 1,000 or nothing compared to like, where you get videos that have millions and millions of views.
Oh, if only I could get 1 million views again, Sam. Maybe this podcast will be what puts us over the over the hump on that.
And we'll see. I mean, you still have about, is it like 174,000 subscribers?
Oh, I'm afraid to look.
Well, I see it. It's 174K.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I think when it came, when it was like 2019, that was kind of always like in the back of my head, like, what could I have done differently in that interview? Should I have talked less? Because that was the very first time I'd ever been interviewed ever, like at least in a stream, like in a podcast or anything that was like live at the moment. So I guess when I got nervous, I ended up talking much more than I should have. I went off on irrelevant tangents. Maybe I don't know if I was really ranting, but it was like a few conversations and a few stories that I brought up that really shouldn't have been brought up, and made some people kind of just go like, what the hell, why are you bringing this stuff up? So I think it was a story that ended up bringing up that revolved around one of my family members, which that should not have happened. So that kind of stuff was just in the back of my mind for the longest time. And I was just thinking, what would happen if like I got the chance to do this kind of interview again?
Well, Sam, would you like me to take that video down? I mean, if you said things you regret, I have no issue with removing it if that's what you want.
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, for two reasons. One, it's your video. Like, whatever videos stay up on your channel, that's your call. And number two, if people want to, like, laugh at, like, me being stupid and stuff like that, then they have every right to. It's fine. It's just, I remember, what really made me remember, what we did in that interview in 2019 was I think I was on the job during my last year of college, and this was right before classes got started. And I just returned to a job that I had done the previous couple of years, which was helping with broadcasts, college broadcasts for sports. And there was this thing we did where we had to just set up cameras, get everything ready before the season got started, I believe, for the basketball season. I think I was the only employee that showed up. So as I was setting things up with one of my bosses, he suddenly brings up out of nowhere, "Oh, by the way, I found your channel." And it's like, oh my God. Like, I didn't expect that to come out of his mouth. And I think he ended up finding the video where, we both did that interview.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he kind of said he wasn't very flattered with how you handled yourself. The guy was kind of a jerk. And it was like,
yeah. I'm a bully. It's true. And to be fair, when we did that, I was the age that you are now. You're what, 22, 23.
About 23 next month.
Yeah, and shortly after that, I would go on to make many much more immature decisions. So I can't blame everything on my age, but I will, in defense of myself today, say that I've grown and changed a lot, and hopefully I don't bully people too often. Like even recently, I've been doing, occasionally I'll do a review of just a very tiny YouTube channel that I find. For example, I did a review over a channel called Xanderbrow sometime last year, and they do like these Mario parodies. And my intention with that video was to make a review that the creator, Xanderbrow himself, could watch and have a smile on his face while still being funny. So that's my new approach, is how can I make this funny while still being respectful enough that the person that I'm more or less lampooning can also enjoy it.
Yeah, that was kind of the approach that Doug Walker did when he was like early on, because I remember there's a wiki page that has, the reception section on most Wikipedia pages. And it had, say, one of the people that worked on gargoyles, because Doug Walker did a video talking about gargoyles, and he said he enjoyed the video. Then I think it was Paul Dini, one of the writers in Batman the Animated Series, that said he loved his top 11 best Batman the Animated Series episodes. Then there was Roger Ebert himself saying that his Siskel and Ebert tribute was the funniest video he'd ever seen. So I can understand where you're coming from when you're saying you want to still make the best video you can, have the creator have a big smile on his face, while still making it funny as shit.
Right. And it's a hard balance to do sometimes, especially when some of the people you're reviewing have, obvious things to mock. And it's like, no, I can't take that easy fruit. You got to really dig deep and find a level of comedy nobody would expect. Yeah. Speaking of Doug Walker, I'm curious. We might have talked about this 4 years ago, but fuck it, I'm doing it again. Are you still a fan of Doug Walker's videos?
Okay, so a controversy happened, and he started doing a few of his reviews. I think it was, at one point, he did a review on the live-action remake of Aladdin, in quotation marks, because you know how Disney live-action remakes are. So I think I ended up saying, like, hey, I really don't care, in some sort of tweet or something. And that was at a point where I just wasn't watching his stuff. After a couple years, controversy kind of died down. It's still a black mark on, I guess, Channel Awesome's legacy, if you want to call it that. I've been watching a lot more of his videos. He has made, like, a couple of different series, and even, like, trying out new things, like talking about more, stuff that would probably not have been nostalgic when he first started, but now, after about, say, 10 or 20 years, now it has become nostalgic. Like, he ended up doing a review on the Jimmy Neutron movie. He's done a few other reviews talking about the Addams Family movies. that was also involved in one of his series called Freaks Show Cinema. So he's trying new stuff while also trying to be a much more analytical critic rather than just trying to spout jokes and skits everywhere. Like, the skits and jokes are still there, and there's sometimes still a hit or miss. But I've grown to appreciate him again just based on his analytical sense.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because I was going to ask, what is the appeal of Doug Walker? Because as an anti-Dougite over here, well, when I see his face and hear his voice, I feel nothing but contempt and hatred.
Well, what probably got me influenced into what I do today was just, I guess, the blunt honesty, just going out there and talking about different aspects of film, which I never took into consideration before. I mean, I believe the first computer I ever got was a school-based computer. They basically just gave it to you so you would be able to do your assignments from home and stuff like that. And one of the first two reviewers I ever watched, the first two reviewers and the first YouTubers I ever watched, the first one was Annoying Orange, and the second one was Doug. And I remember the first video I ever saw from him, and I think it was his top 11 dumbest Spider-Man moments.
So which of those two was more annoying?
I honestly, I enjoyed both of them at the time. Even with Annoying Orange, like, I don't watch that as much. They still continue to keep making videos, which is fine. And it's clear at this point that Dangbo, who does a lot of the voices, that like classic Annoying Orange laugh that he had done since like the late 2000s. At this point, he's gotten much older and he can't really do that old laugh like he used to. So it's much more seasoned, I guess. I don't really watch a lot of his videos now, but once in a while I had. There was like how some people get into those streaks where, like, say a month or two they listen to a band, and then another month or two they listen to another band. That was kind of what I was doing when I returned to Annoying Orange again. And then kind of with Doug Walker, like, there's like maybe a couple months where maybe I'm watching some of his stuff, and then another month I'm watching a lot of this stuff. It happens. So it's kind of like that.
And why did you, when you started off doing your own reviews, why did you want to approach it as, like, I'm the teenage nostalgia critic? Like, did you ever think to have an original, like, idea, or did you really just want to emulate his style of comedy and analysis?
Was more of a spin-off, I guess, because there were different versions. Like, even in the beginning of Channel Awesome, there was a nostalgia chick. There were plenty of other content creators that did the exact same thing, but that had their own names, their own quirks, their own personalities, their own styles. I figured, why not bring my style into the mix? Because there was a period of time where I wasn't really comfortable with, the idea of how people from all over the world watching on their computer screens think of me. There was like this fear, like, would people hate my face? Would they hate my voice? Would they hate what I had to say? So I think it was in between 8th and 9th grade of middle to high school, that transition, where I did a bit of Vine when that app was still a thing. And so that was the beginning. Like, a lot of the stuff that I made on there, it's not really that funny. I was still trying to learn how to really do jokes and stuff like that. Eventually, once even when I finally, started making videos on the original Baseball Sam 1 channel, I was originally gonna try and do a long movie review. The first review that was supposed to actually be up there for everyone to see for the very first time, Home on the Range. It was supposed to be a 40-minute video. And I did this on an app called YouTube Capture, which is no longer around, but it basically was just an app where it was mainly designed for, say, 1 or 2 minute videos where if you wanted to, like have a home movie of your family on the beach or something like that. That's what it was designed to do. What I was doing was really pushing it to its capabilities. So before, I didn't have a big enough gigabyte plan to make that video out to be as 40 minutes, because once I finally uploaded it, it only uploaded about a fourth of the runtime, and that's just not what I wanted. So I just took that video down and I just decided, okay, let me try something different. So I did some kind of news segment thing where I just talked about current events. Basically, here was the intro. So I took out a loose leaf notebook paper, wrote down, I think it was Just News, that's what it was called, and I just put some generic news music, played it, and then I just waved the piece of paper right in front of the camera, tossed it away, sat down in the chair, and then just talked, and that was pretty much it.
And so that's the humble beginnings of Baseball Sam.
Yeah, that was pretty much where I began. I think the first time I did a video like that, I think it was December 22nd, 2015, but the very first review I ever made was January 22nd, 2016. And this, when I changed my gigabyte plan, got a different phone, and I was able to hold up much more storage. So now, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't have the video, say cut off, where let's say I have another 40-minute video again, and maybe another fourth would just be uploaded and the rest would not be. So I originally did part 1 and part 2 videos, and the first episode I ever talked about, the Drake and Josh episode, Blues Brothers. That was just when I was really trying to start myself off. I was very inexperienced, very green, just kind of, I don't think I even had a script. I just kind of just went off whatever was in my brain. Just whatever I said came out, that was pretty much what stuck.
And all of these old school NTC and Baseball Sam videos are they gone forever now? Is there no archive of them?
There have been a couple of people that managed to re-upload a couple of my reviews here and there, like even the NTC series finale that's up, I think, on the NTC Juniors YouTube channel, and there's, I think, maybe another channel or two that uploaded a couple other videos, like I think my old Emoji Movie review is up, which I kind of disowned because it pretty much went against what I now pretty much criticize. Like, there was this one other YouTuber named Miss Anthropomorphic who basically came out of the gates on Twitter saying that Rise of Skywalker sucked, even though he had never seen it. Even though I,
to be fair, he was right.
Yeah, even though I made the same mistake of not watching the Emoji Movie and yet deciding I'm still going to review it anyway, which was stupid. I should have watched the movie. And the main excuse I had as to why I didn't see the movie first before doing the review was because I did not want to give my money to this, which was friggin' stupid. Like, there's plenty of sites...
No, Sam, I have to disagree with you. I think if you see a trailer and you can already tell that the movie is dog shit, you should not support it financially. I think it's... my friend Weekend Warrior, he recently made a video reviewing the Little Mermaid remake, and he also has not seen it. He just he could review it from the trailer and from the released material.
I think that gives kind of the movie a disservice. Like, even...
Good! Some movies deserve a disservice, dude!
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to review anything, show, movie, a song, or anything of that nature, you gotta watch the entire thing from beginning to end, regardless if it ends up being a masterpiece or a big-time disaster. If you really want to be taken seriously and you want to actually be given some kind of respect and dignity and have people take your word on this, because there are people that will... I don't want people to just go off of my own opinions. I want them to have their own. If you really want to be taken seriously as a critic, a reviewer, reviewing things like, say, cartoons, live action shows, or anything like that, make sure you actually watch what you are reviewing. Because if you're just going off trailers, maybe a couple of clips here and there, that's not enough. It's not enough. It's just more of a first impressions kind of video rather than actually a full-length review. So that's the big reason why I disown my original Emoji Movie review. That's basically it.
Well, this might be a little philosophical, Sam, but are you approaching your YouTube videos from the perspective of wanting people to respect your opinion and being an authentic critic of these cartoons and stuff? Like, you want people to take you seriously in that way?
That was the idea in the beginning, but again, being inexperienced and green on how to deal with making YouTube videos and dealing with people that wouldn't like your crap and dealing with requests and all the other things that come with being a YouTuber, that was an idea that was there, but it just wasn't conveyed well in the beginning. Eventually over time, you get older, you get wiser, you start, screwing up less. You start be more careful with what you say, be more mindful of what you do. You end up doing other things, like actually finally writing scripts so you're actually prepared for doing reviews, which is something that, there were a couple times in my past where half the time, or I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I can give a proper percentage. There were times where I did write down things like in a script form, and then there were other times it was just off the cuff, which I probably should not have done because it made me stutter over my words, made me just, mess up what I was really trying to say. Poor wording was there. I wasn't able to articulate myself as well as I can now. I'm sure I probably stuttered a few times and repeated a few words, but again, this is just, I have no script. This is coming from my own head, so...
Yeah, I kind of approach online content creation with the attitude of everybody who is putting themselves out there and they expect to have an audience sit there and watch whatever they're doing. None of those people, you relinquish the human right to respect as soon as you expect people to pay attention to you. As soon as you upload anything, you are nothing more than an entertainer. You're just a clown. If you want your thoughts on film and television to be taken seriously, I guess go write a fucking book about it or something. But if you're posting an edited, scripted YouTube video with skits and stuff, maybe we should just approach it from, this is just for fun. Don't take my opinions on my Is It Kino podcast all that seriously, because at the end of the day, we're just spouting off opinions about other people's art.
Yeah, just sharing perspectives. That's basically all it is. I'm not saying everything I say is fact. I'm not saying everyone, there could be someone out there that may say, I love the Little Mermaid remake. That's totally fine. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it. That's basically it. Don't let anybody make it seem like that it's the worst possible thing that you can do. Everyone is going to have a guilty pleasure. Everyone's going to have a movie where they say it's a masterpiece, and everyone's going to have that movie where they think it's overrated and they don't understand why a lot of people like it. Then there's some people that say, oh, this is an underrated movie. I don't know why other people don't see this. Or there could be that big disaster that you just think is the absolute worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Like Food Fight, for instance.
Yeah, and everybody's favorite movie is somebody else's least favorite movie, and it's so subjective that other than debating Florian Himsel for the sake of comedy, there's not really any reason to genuinely be upset by somebody else's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Where should we go from here, Sam? Should we discuss what happened to your original YouTube channel and why your hundreds of original reviews are gone?
Yeah, okay, so what happened is I originally thought it was a community guideline strike that took it down. That's what I had said maybe for the first couple of years when I had Baseball Sam 2. Anytime anybody asked me, what happened to your original channel, I just said, I think it was a YouTube community guideline strike. It just came out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming. And then bam, it was just all gone. I remember even where I was when it was taken down. I think I was playing a video game somewhere. And this was before I was about to go off to college. This was during summer. And I think it was even NTC Junior that came on to Discord, just messaged me and said, hey, where's your original channel? And then that's when I tried to look it up on YouTube and I was like, oh my God, it is gone. And I was just... I was crushed. I was crushed. All the hard work that I did, regardless how anybody feels about it, whether they think it's good video, whether they think that the videos were good or bad or mediocre or, the worst thing ever or the best thing ever or anything like that, all the hard work that I did, the reviews that I made, 2016 to 2019, they were all just gone. Thankfully, there are a few videos that did survive, but again, most of them are just, they're in the void. You can't even look up, you can't even find them on the, those archive websites where they managed to find some of the old stuff from, say, early 2000s and stuff like that. It's just gone. Well, I mean, I don't know exactly how you dealt with that, but I would assume you took it on the chin better than I did when all my channels got deleted. I pretty much completely self-destructed and gave up on life, and I was convinced I, wasn't going to live for much longer anyway. So how did you cope with the loss of all that hard work? So what helped was that before the inevitable came, I luckily made a second account just in case. So I made that, and that's where I'm making a lot of my videos now. So if the same situation eventually happens again, maybe it's something else that happens. But I'm making sure that it doesn't. Because the real reason why Baseball Sam 1 got taken down was because was really doomed from the start. Like, when I originally made the YouTube account, I think it was September 2nd, 2014. I actually remember the date because it was one of the first things you'd see if you were looking deep into your channel, with all the settings and stuff. And used my school Gmail. That was a big mistake because that email is only used just school purposes. That was just given to me by middle school time. And so I used that from middle school up until high school. And once high school was pretty much done, once I no longer needed that Gmail, basically in their eyes, it became inactive, and that locked me out of my original channel. It was just kind of sitting there for a short amount of time, and then of course was gone.
Yeah.
So now I have my very own Gmail, which I should have used in the first place. In the same manner of I should have actually used what I use now to make my videos in the first place instead of using YouTube Capture. I know there's some people that enjoyed that style, yes, but looking back on it, it just does not hold up. Because I originally thought when I used YouTube Capture, and it had, me just showing the screen, then back to me, showing the screen, then back to me, and having, these other shots that were synonymous with YouTube Capture, like the boomerang shots, for example. I thought that made me feel unique. I thought it made me stand out amongst the other YouTube reviewers out there. Well, in a sense, it did, but for all the wrong reasons. It made the quality look like, what was it? There was some guy that made a 20-minute video just basically saying this entire channel, a lot of these videos are just crap. I believe it was, okay, the name is escaping me right now. It was the one that gave me very unique names like the cat-wearing Neanderthal.
Wow. Well, hey, I'll have you know, Neanderthals actually were more intelligent than the Sapiens. I actually recently made a video about that, so that's a compliment.
Yeah, I think you ended up making something the race that has the most Neanderthal DNA?
That's right. Asians, they should be so proud.
Yeah, well, okay.
Are you part Asian by any chance? Maybe he could just tell.
I don't know. I never really, okay, so Megadude TV, that was the name. I had to look it up. So it was Megadude TV.
More like Mega Douche TV.
Okay. Okay, the guy himself is pretty complicated because looking back on the video, there are stuff I disagree with. Because, there was an instance where he was talking about my NTC stand-up series, which, for those of you that need context, it was basically me taking inspiration from an improv game from a show called Whose Line Is It Anyway, which is on the CW channel. It's still going, having guys like Colin Mockery, Ryan Stiles, and so on. And one of their games was Scenes from a Hat, where they just took slips of paper from a hat and it read out a scene, let's say, things you can say to your boss but not your girlfriend, something like that. And so you made up an improvisational joke right there on the spot. That's what the series was about. Heck, even the first video that I made in that series, it said, inspired by Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I think I probably gave people, the introduction to it, why the series was being made in that first video. I think there was about maybe 12 or 13 videos that were made in that series. So, Megadude attacked it, calling it a gold mine of mental retardation.
Okay.
That's what he said. But then he was talking to NC Jr. when we were still, talking, and he was they were in the comment section, and he admitted that he'd only seen about maybe a few of those videos, not the entire thing. So, again, back to what I was saying about the Emoji Movie. If you're gonna rip somebody apart, or if you're gonna praise them, if you're going to say this is a masterpiece or a disaster, if you're going to say this is good or bad, watch the entire thing. And I get that there's I'm not expecting everyone to watch every single video on someone's channel in order to make an entire video about them. But this series, it was only about 12 or 13 videos, and they weren't even long videos. They were 4 or 5, maybe 6 minutes. They were just basically just a few, scenes that I did, just a few jokes in between. And that was pretty much it. He could have easily gone through the entire thing. I mean, if he was calling this a gold mine of mental retardation, show us why it is a gold mine of mental retardation.
That should be the new catchphrase for this show. I think I would wear that as a badge of honor. I would love to be a gold mine. That's very valuable. Everybody's going to want to come see the gold up in their hills. And retardation, I mean, who's funnier than people who don't know what's going on? That's basically me.
That was pretty much me when I was doing that interview with you all those years ago, because I didn't see your face.
Oh, no. That was just me being a bully, Sam. You shouldn't feel bad about that.
Yeah, I know. Even the people that were in your comment section kind of knew that. It's like, this kid is too gullible. He doesn't even know that you're joking. I feel
you
so
were
bad.
a sweet summer child. You were 18 years old, not even in college yet, and some
that's right.
dickhead YouTuber had you on the show. You know, it's not against you.
Yeah, I know. Again, that's in the past. It's done with. You live in, and now we're doing this, and hopefully, as far as we're going right now, I haven't said anything stupid. So,
this is basically a non sequitur, but you were talking about Whose Line, and about a decade ago, Colin Mockery and Brad Sherwood were touring the country doing a 2-man improv show, and they came
I remember that.
Did you go see them?
Again, I only discovered Whose Line Is It Anyway through YouTube. There was like a whole bunch of compilations, scenes from a hat, videos that showed off like the funniest stuff. And that's where I got introduced to that improv group. And that's where I got introduced to improvisational comedy. And fun fact about myself, I actually, just for fun, signed up for a class that's being taught somewhere, I think in Raleigh. And
I used to live in Raleigh. It's too bad we never went bowling, Sam. I really wanted to.
Yeah, you're basically like Nico's brother from GTA 4. Hey, come on, let's go bowling, guys.
Yeah, if only.
Yeah.
Wait, so have you taken this improv class then?
Improv class is about to begin next week. Like, it was originally supposed to be on July 3rd, but they rescheduled it, I guess because of the amount of people that we're going to have in that class. There was like an email that got sent out. And so it's not a free class. You still got to pay for it. And I did. So that's something that I'm doing during July and into August, during this summer. But of course, you have that. There's like a part-time job I have. There's also making these videos, trying to look for something, really out there since I'm done with college now. Real life stuff.
Well, maybe taking this class will re-spark the passion for this improv stuff on YouTube, and you can bring back that series. We have a new gold mine on our hands.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, to finish my brief story, I did see the Colin and Brad show live, and they were taking suggestions from the audience for something, and they did use my suggestion, so that is my closest claim to fame, is that one time Colin and Brad used something that I said during an improv show.
Do you remember what you suggested?
They needed some sort of complicated name because one guy was in the hallway and the other guy would have to guess his occupation and his name, but they couldn't say it. They had to use clues, and I think they ended up using the name Jebediah that I shouted out. So Brad had to somehow come up with that name.
Okay.
Or maybe it was Zebediah, one of the two, but yeah, basically.
Zebediah or Jebediah. Which one sounds funnier, Jebediah or Ebediah?
Well, I have an uncle Zebediah, so I might have said it because of him.
Me.
So what are you working on your channel these days?
Well, okay, so with this new channel, there are a couple of other series, like there's Big Nate Comic Dubs. I'm trying a new series called Sam Talks, where it's unrelated to regular reviews. Still more, it has some informative stuff here and there. Like I do talk about a few things like pet peeves. The very first Sam Talks video I did was talking about all the different Jokers that I grew up with and learned about and either loved or didn't really think were as good as other ones, or Leto. But there's also those Big Nate comic devs, which I've done about maybe 20-something of them, and this was before the Big Nate show came out. And I just did them basically for fun, and over time I've gotten better on how to actually do those, because there's plenty of channels out there that have done comic dev videos too. And I believe it was what got me reintroduced back to you again, because it's been a while since we actually had talked. I believe there was one person that came into the comment section of my video saying, "Hey, Simian Jimmy or Monkey Jones or whatever they called you, he just started talking to you in this video." And he said, "Well, okay, where?" And it's like, "Oh, he just gave me a timestamp." So I went in there, and this was when you were talking about the narration videos that I did on those Thomas episodes.
You take Thomas the Tank Engine episodes, and then you replace the narration with yourself.
Yeah, there was like these custom instrumentals that were made by a couple of other YouTubers, just to have like the sound effects, the music cues, but taking out the narrator in general. So it could give anybody the chance to like imagine if they were George Carlin or Ringo Starr or Alec Baldwin or Michelangelos, all those narrators that worked on the show.
Wait, they had all those people on Thomas the Tank Engine?
Because the thing is, when it first got started, it was supposed to be something that everyone could enjoy, but it seemed like, at least in the eyes of the general public, after the movie Thomas and the Magic Railroad came out, it was just, oh, it's a kiddie show with talking trains because magic. And that's what kind of like summoned the end of that classic era that people talk about. And that's what led to the hit era. That's what eventually led into the CGI era. There was a bit of a renaissance here and there in the later seasons, but then eventually they started expanding on those big adventures in big world kind of concepts. And now it's gotten to a point where it's a fully animated show with like very big cartoony humor with all the characters. And it's basically it's lost the plot, basically. I don't watch that show, and I don't think I'm ever going to plan on watching it. In the same way with Total Drama Rama. I'd rather watch the new season of Total Drama again.
I have 2 points. Number one, when it comes to Thomas and his tank train friends or whatever, I fucking hate it. Like, something about their faces is so creepy to me, and it freaks me out, and I'm just flabbergasted that anybody could watch that. And point number two, every now and then I come across something on YouTube, and my brain just like snaps in half, and I cannot understand, like, why does this exist? Why did somebody make this? Who is this for?
Was that what's going in your mind about why is Sam doing these narrations?
100%. Like, why is Sam redubbing these Thomas the Tank Engine episodes?
Well, I gave the answer in that video where you did talk about me, but just the short version here, it was just something I wanted to do because there's a part of me that maybe somewhere down the line I could be a narrator for maybe books, maybe serials, maybe for commercials, something like that, because I've learned over time that my voice is not exactly like regular voices out there. It's certainly its own thing. So maybe somewhere down the line I could, be involved in, doing narration for something out there. It's one of my avenues that I can take. There's plenty of other ones out there. There's a part of me that still wants to be connected with sports, but obviously I'm not playing. I never got scouted or anything like that when I played high school baseball. So if I ever wanted to do something that, used my voice but still was connected with sports because I know about it so well, especially baseball, I would probably maybe try sports broadcasting, play-by-play, color commentator, something like that. Again, it's another one of the avenues that I can take. But there's also other avenues that I could take as well, because I've done other things. Like, I've worked in video production teams, I've worked as a writer for a couple of newspapers, just simple things like that. So there's plenty of different places I could go. I could use my writing skills, I could use my voice, I could use my knowledge of sports for any potential career. Again, I'm just right at I'm right at the crossroads of college. What am I going to do next?
So it's like practicing voiceover work combined with just a general passion for Thomas.
Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't say it's a passion. It was just more of I did grow up with the show when I was really young, when it was on those kiddie networks. But there is a community out there, and there's a lot of different channels that also make their own versions. I think it's Trains with a Z, where they make their own stories. They do their own animations. And they try to give it that more classic feel instead of just the very cookie-cutter stories that plagued some of the Thomas episodes that came out Season 8, Season 9, Season 10. It went on for about over 20 seasons, and there's a lot of people that say 7, they were decent. 8 to maybe 16 or something, they had their moments here and there, but it was just mostly not good. 17 to 21, that was when the Renaissance started happening, when there actually was when there was more good than bad. And then there was that spinoff where they decided to have the characters go to different countries like China, Australia, and so on. And then finally there was the animated one.
How many episodes are in a season of Thomas the Tank Engine?
Usually about, say, 20-something episodes.
Jesus fuck! There's like 500 episodes of this.
Yeah.
What the hell do they do? They're just trains. What could they possibly be fucking doing?
I'm sure a lot of fans could probably tell you how much it meant to them, because I get that some people could find the train models creepy, especially the faces.
Yes.
I get it. I totally get it. Their mouths don't move and stuff like that. And if you're wondering about the CGI seasons, yes, their mouths move. They move like actual characters. But again, you have to take into consideration, because the show came out in the UK in the mid-'80s, and they didn't exactly have the kind of technology to have their voices, like have their mouths move. And even if they did try to attempt it, it probably wouldn't have aged that great. Like some of some of those like animal movies that came out in the 90s where they had the lips move, and even like animal movies that do this nowadays where they have the lips move. Sometimes it works well, other times not so much, and it's very dated. It hasn't aged that well. You know what I mean? Like, say, Cats and Dogs movie, the Santa Paws movie, something like that, where they make the dogs talk when the dogs are just clearly not invested in what's going on. So, with what they had in the 80s, they used a lot of practical sets. They used a lot of their own, like, imagination and creativity to make these small-scale sets in the beginning, but once each and every season started coming out, that's when they started making longer and bigger sets, like actually using water. They actually were able to make it seem like this is a real world. It makes it seem like the rivers are real. It makes it seem like the ocean is real.
I can appreciate the practical effects and all the sets and stuff. I appreciate that artistry, but narratively, how many storylines could these characters possibly have?
They did have a lot, because they did have, like, it's like when you have The Simpsons, when you have like a whole bunch of characters with a whole bunch of personalities.
At least they can get off the tracks. Like The Simpsons can go around and do shit.
Yeah, again, there's even a lot of like 80s and 90s cartoons that had characters that were anthropomorphic cars and animals. I think there was like a couple of British cartoons, a couple other ones that did something similar. And there's been like a few others that, did something similar, like Bob the Builder. They had something similar to that, but it had its own style. It was more claymation artwork. It was different stories, different characters, different kind of lessons. Thomas had its own lessons that even probably adults could take. I'll tell you one big reason why there's still people that appreciate this show, because especially in its earlier seasons, they didn't try to talk down to kids. They could at least tell jokes. Like there's one joke, I believe it was Season 3, first episode. It was like Percy wanting to have a scarf because he saw a bunch of scarves everywhere. It was like during winter time. It was cold. So he was like, I want a scarf. And one of his friends, Henry's just like, rubbish. Engines don't wear scarves. And Percy's like, engines with small funnels, maybe. No, wait, hold on. I'm messing up the line here.
Yeah, like, we gotta get this right.
Okay, got it. Okay, I got the line now. Engines with proper funnels do, Henry. You've only got a small one.
Oh, he's size-shaming him now?
Yeah, that's pretty much I think that's probably the only real adult joke that the show got away with. But again, it's like so subtle, like you could pretty much just say, oh, okay, his funnel's small. Like a little kid could laugh at that, but also an adult could laugh at that even harder. It's like, oh my god, they actually made that joke. So again, there is a community behind this. And just to say that, why would anybody like this? Again, you have to go back to when you were a child, talking about, and talking about all the different shows you grew up with, all the movies that you watched over and over again. The question is, the answer to the question, what people would really want to see this, someone, somewhere, or some people, anywhere. That's basically the shortest answer, but the best answer you can give to that kind of question.
Well, Sam, the last thing I want to do is yuck somebody's yum. So let me ask you this. I just Googled it. There are 584 episodes of Thomas and Friends. I want you to give me the top 3 best episodes of that show, and I will watch them and report back to you.
Okay, putting me on the spot here. Okay, just want to clarify, it's not my favorite show or anything like that. It's still just something that, I have some fond memories of, and I've watched a few videos like just talking about, the production, what went behind it, who was the spotlight character, how many stories were given to this, all the stuff that went on, with each and every season, the production, how it was broadcast, and so on. But in terms of talking about my favorites, I mean, like you said, there's 584 episodes, you said?
Yeah, not even necessarily your favorites, but just the 3 ones you would recommend anybody watch.
Let's see. I think, one, if you want to see something that's very thrilling and really funny, and it actually makes good use of classical music, Thomas and the Jet Engine. This is the basic gist is to take a jet engine to some place. But the jet engine accidentally goes off, and Thomas just goes on a joyride throughout the entire island. He can't stop. He goes past stations and other trains and different people, and it's just whizzing by everybody. The big joke in all this is that one of the engines named Gordon is saying, "I'm the fastest. I'm the one, I'm the fastest and most proud engine on the island of Sodor." And so Thomas ends up clowning him by just going by him "Hi, Gordon, bye, Gordon." And he just whizzes by him like it's nothing.
He's absolutely cucked, emasculated. That train will never be the same.
I guess so. So that's one episode I recommend. Let's see, what else? Let's see, what other episode? Think here. Another funny one. I think it was the Deputation. The Deputation. This was when they had a couple of engines, a couple of ones that came from Scotland, and they were pretty much on thin ice, or they were in the process of should they be sent away or should they stay or something like that. Because again, the series really went into detail about the fears of being scrapped, which is what happened to a lot of old engines.
Oh wow, it really gets existential about the death of the trains, and that's a deep-seated fear.
Because again, there was century, in the beginning part, everybody, most people, if they didn't have a car or they didn't have a cab they could take, they usually took the trains, or before really a lot of the things like buses and planes became commonplace. Of course, then eventually the steam trains started to get replaced with diesels. And, diesels were the revolutionary new engines, using just oil to make themselves work. And that was a constant theme that was brought on during the series. So there's multiple episodes in the show that talk about the ideas of, what would happen if I got scrapped if I'm not useful at all, or if I'm causing too much trouble and stuff like that. Because there are characters that do get their comeuppance a lot in the show when they end up acting like a dick. So the Deputation was more of just trying to save 2 engines who were actually useful engines. They actually saved one of them when he got, bombarded with snow. It was the middle of a winter wonderland, and one of the engines ended up getting buried. The Scottish twin engines happened to find him when they were trying to clear the tracks of snow. Okay, we'll get him out. And so they did, very grateful for that, but still, they're on the chopping block of should they stay or should they go. So the engines kind of say, we need to talk to the head of the entire railway. We need to say that they are useful. They should have a place here. And that's what that's where the deputation part comes in.
See, I think that's a dangerous lesson to teach the kids. If something or somebody is obsolete and they're no longer functional and copacetic with society, maybe euthanasia is the answer.
No, that's not what they're saying at all. Because
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, well, that's you. Basically, what the show is saying is everyone of, no matter what, no matter how old you are or how young you are, if you got new parts or anything like that, you're still useful no matter what. You're still special in your own way. Anybody can relate to something like that.
No, Joe Biden is 89 years old. He should not be president. He has fucking dementia. Let's get somebody in their 40s or 50s in the White House. I'm tired of these old trains taking up space on my rail when we got these high-speed diesel engines. Your time has passed. You're obsolete. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah, political jokes. How we love them.
Not joking. Not joking in the slightest. What is your third best episode of Thomas?
Okay, third episode I'd recommend. Let's see, let me think. I have to think about this. I'm just trying to go far back. Oh, James goes buzz buzz, because that was one of the rare times where Thomas was able to actually use 2D animation. Like, basically, the gist of it is the red engine takes a beehive. He's like transporting it with a whole bunch of other coaches. Or I think it was one of the station masters that was like, just taking the beehive around, just kind of on a trolley or something. And it accidentally falls over, and everyone just runs out of there. And the beeves, they don't have a home. They're trying to find someplace to be. And they decide to use James because his boiler happens to be so warm, and the bees love warmth. So they're just all over him. One of the bees burns their foot, I guess, and this is where the 2D animation comes in. And so the bee just starts flying around and actually stings him on the nose. So if you're one of the people that grew up with this show, and you grew up with the American narration, this is where George Carlin comes in. It has probably one of the funniest moments ever. Once he gets stung, James just kind of goes, "Eeeh! Right up my nose!" So, if you wanted to see one that just has, like, again, good, decent comedy, a good, like some good 2D animation, just doing something that you probably wouldn't expect to happen, like one of the engines getting stung on the face, that's been like the first 2 episodes I ended up recommending. They more focused on comedy. I guess that's something that just spoke to me. But there are some other serious ones. I think maybe one more I can recommend is Henry in the Forest, because that's probably one of the most emotional ones. Because one of the engines has a connection with the forest. He finds it to be peaceful and relaxing. Like, when someone goes out for a walk and they try to enjoy nature. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And back to that other episode, I wanted to say, as somebody who is deathly afraid of bees, but loves George Carlin, it sounds like that might be a very relatable episode for me.
Yeah, and deathly afraid is basically what I am of bees.
Me too.
I don't care if it's a wasp. I don't care if it's a freaking bumblebee. Like, just get it away from me. If
it's something sharp that is flying and can get angry and attack me, yeah, I should be fucking afraid.
Yeah. Yeah, especially when you're not doing anything. Like, I've heard somewhere, I think it says that bees are attracted to different colors on your clothes. So, like, say something bright and colorful, like, say, a blue shirt or a red shirt, they're probably more all over you, I guess. But
so if you see a beehive, strip naked and you'll be safe. I think that's what they do on Jackass.
It's probably worse.
Oh, so Steve-O was wrong.
I don't know who Steve-O is. So.
He's the guy on Jackass who gets his ball sack stung by bees.
Yeah. I remember that one. It's like, this is Johnny Knoxville, and this is the bikini.
Yes.
Yeah. But again, like I said, I'm not really like. There's a lot of other shows out there that I've gotten more of a connection with than just really Thomas. But it's something that it was a part of my life. I'm still, involved in different communities. I'm involved, like, with different shows that I grew up with, like Avatar, and the most recent cartoon that I could say that I've enjoyed watching from beginning to end, The Owl House. Unfortunately, is done with because, some behind-the-scenes stuff that happened, but it ended in a nice way, and there's plenty of other good cartoons that are out there, and plenty of other good cartoon movies that are coming out recently.
Like Teen Titans Go.
Actually, funny thing is, when I was, like, at that stage, like, 2017, when I was really, like, really hating everything that involved that. This was, like, probably a lot of
Those are my favorite videos of yours, when you hate Teen Titans Go.
Again, if you enjoy them, that's totally fine. And if anybody else enjoys them, that's totally fine. But it just shows me kind of at my most toxic. Like, it's just really not who I am anymore. I try to be much more objective, not trying to go after writers, not trying to say that this was the worst cartoon ever, that these cartoon characters need to go die, stuff like that.
But you were in character as the Nostalgia Teen Critic. I think people can see the distinction between the real you and the character.
Well, whether you were in character or not in character, it still wasn't called for. A lot of the stuff like jokes about breaking windows, shouting at the screen, acting like a loony bird and stuff like that.
I still do that to this day. Come on. Give me a break here.
There's some people that have their styles that manage to age like fine wine. And then, of course, there's some that age like milk. And at least from my perspective...
Well, you are a fine wine, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that, thank you. But again, I prefer the stuff that I do now. I'm not saying that everything I've done on my new channel has been perfect. I think I could point to a couple of videos where they could have been better. But at least with the stuff that I make now, it's more thought out, more carefully planned. They are scripted. I actually write the scripts down instead of just doing everything from the top of my head. Once in a while, it's more on the cuff, but that's just, like once in a while. Again, it's not frequent. I don't use YouTube Capture anymore. The app basically gave out on itself back in 2017. I use iMovie now, which probably, for some people, they probably would call that limited, but compared to something like Premiere Pro, which is Adobe product, stuff like that, I find iMovie to be better because it's easier to navigate. I'm sure Premiere Pro and Audition, they have a lot more, great features, color correctness and stuff like that. There's a lot more bells and whistles there, and it's just like, unless you have to really squint hard to see it. Because I used Adobe Audition and Premiere Pro a lot when I did projects in college, especially with the major that I did, what I studied for, communications. Mm-hmm. And did a lot of different broadcasting classes and journalism classes, and that involved doing those different programs, like going to the computer lab almost every other day just to get some of these projects done. That's probably something I'm gonna miss because doing all these projects, you do them at the time. They are hard work. Then when you're done with them, and let's say years go by, you look back on them and go like, I remember those days. So that kind of thinking, I want to be able to think of the work that I did now, maybe like say 10 years down the line. I hope that I don't have a lot of regrets. Just, I want to be able to look back on my stuff fondly. Like, that was a fun time in my life. I don't know how long I keep doing this YouTube thing, and in the same way that you probably don't know how long you're going to keep doing this.
Until they kill me. But Sam, I wanted to say, next time we do a show together, whether it's this show or another show, I will watch those episodes of Thomas, and I will report back and see if you were right all along.
Again, that's up to you. And if it ends up maybe you're seeing like, hey, they were fine, I wouldn't get myself into it, that's totally fine. If you manage to just not get into it whatsoever.
I might be binging all 584 episodes this weekend.
That's going to be a long marathon if you decide to do that.
The longest train of all time. But Sam, somehow, some way, we're already over an hour, which is about how long I like these to be. Right. Really, this flew by, so I don't know how we did it so quick. But do you have any last ideas or topics you really want to throw in, or do you even have any questions for me?
As of right now, I do have a video plan, which is on the first season of a show, which is similar to what I did when I talked about Infinity Train's first season. But this is a different show. This was one show that I did grow up with, and it's an anime. But that's all I'll say about it, because the video is still in production. I still got to get it edited, got to get everything together. It's still, not entirely ready to go yet.
Okay, so mystery anime video coming out soon on Baseball Sam 2. Link in the description.
Yep. And also, if anybody wonders, like, hey, do I have other social media? I mainly use Twitter. I know that some people, saying, oh, Twitter's going down the tubes because of Elon Musk. But luckily, I've managed to follow a bunch of people, and I actually managed to have a decent feed where it doesn't, get filled up with a bunch of toxic stuff. So if you want to find me there, it's SD Yankee 17, all in caps. That's where you can find me on Twitter. If you want to follow me or see, the other tweets that I've made, I'm sure there's probably a couple I've made like years and years ago. Like, that's the one thing about Twitter. Last thing I'll say, the old tweets you make on Twitter, like, you wish you could find them much easier, because you have to like keep scrolling over and over and over again until you find that one tweet is like, oh, that hasn't aged well, delete. So
what kind of poorly aged tweets were you posting, Sam?
I know. I think maybe one that probably didn't age that well. Maybe, I think it was when there was like a controversy that involved this one YouTuber named Pro Jared. I don't know if you know the guy.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, I think there was like one or two tweets that I made in the middle of that because I firmly believed in something. But of course, those were like learning lessons. It's like, hey, before you really make a tweet about anything, really just think them out. Like, it basically in the same way that I make my videos. Like, think them out, like, like read them out to yourself. Like, in the same way, if you're making an essay, just like, read it out loud, see if it actually makes sense. And if it doesn't, go back and rewrite it, go back and edit this thing before, it really, it's good to go.
Right. And I think that does come with just general maturity, and it's something a lot of people don't achieve. They just spew out their hatred or vitriol or whatever thoughts without really thinking it through.
Yeah.
And there's no depth of critical thinking at all.
Yeah, and also one more thing I do want to say, and this was involved the first time we did this kind of interview thing 4 years ago. There was a few people in the comment section that were saying things like, oh, how autistic can this guy get? Stuff like that. That kind of. There was like a period of time, I think, on YouTube where there was this YouTube commentator phase where they were these channels that just basically all they did was talk about other YouTubers and bash them. There was like a few that like Megadoo TV was one of those people. And so those comments, for anybody that's watching this video, I know there's like, I know that a lot of these kind of Kino and other things that happen on this channel, I know that it's mainly jokes, mainly just done in jest, but just there's always that fine line between making a joke and then just saying something completely stupid. So I'm not autistic, I don't have Asperger's or anything like that, and even if I did, I wouldn't use that as an excuse for what I said in the past. It was basically because I was a nervous idiot. Simple as that.
And I mean, this is a very autism-friendly channel. Florian Himsel is a proud autistic man, and he's perhaps the most popular co-host on my show. So, I don't think anybody's going to be saying anything like that to you.
That's what you hope for. But of course, the internet, there's always going to be that one or two people that end up saying some of the stupidest shit.
Yeah, well, they're getting shadow banned. That's right. Keep posting. We won't even know it, buddy. You're gone. Talk shit about Sam. You're fucking black holed from the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
Beyond those, one of those comments that's reviewed first before it's deleted or it's kept on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll never know. They'll keep typing their hatred and they won't even know. Nobody can see it. Get fucked if you make fun of Sam. Not on my fucking channel.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all I really got to say now.
Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on, giving me a second chance. I hope I redeemed myself in your eyes. Hopefully your old boss can watch this and say, wow, that monkey man, he sure has improved.
And also same with me, because I'm confident that I didn't say a lot of stupid shit in this one. It was more just, at least, more articulate than I did originally. Just wanted to do this right. I wanted to try and actually be prepared for this one instead of just having it be sprung up on me, and then I just get so caught up in it, you end up putting your foot in your mouth.
Right. And that happens to me every day of my life, so everybody listening at home is used to that anyway. But thanks for listening, everybody. This has been another Treehouse. Sam, will we have you up in here again one day?
And we'll see what happens. It just depends on, what happens in our lives, because we both have our own paths.
So true. Thanks for listening, everybody. Okay, we have a postscript PS from Sam.
Okay, so for some people, I did do those Thomas narrations, maybe 40-something of them, but recently, I think it's Mattel, the one that owns Thomas, they've been taking out a lot of different Thomas videos lately. It hasn't just been on my channel, it's happened to a bunch of other channels too. A lot of the narration videos that I did before, they're just kind of gone. There's maybe a few more that's left, but because of the frequency of them being taken down, that's why I'm not really doing those narrations anymore. I had a bunch of other ones planned in advance, but with what's happened and with the multiple attempts I've tried to those videos up without it being hit with some kind of claim, they don't really strike my channel, but they just make sure that nobody in the world can see it. It's not one country can't see it. It's everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm not doing those as much. Maybe one day I'll try those again, maybe try narrations on something else, but as of right now, I'm trying to focus on other videos.
And you do musical vocal covers as well. I know you did a whole Beatles album.
Yeah, that's mainly something I do for fun. And again, if people find that to be good, bad, or something in the middle or anything and that's totally fine. Again, it's not for money or anything like that. It's mainly just for fun. I'm not trying to look for people to say, oh, this is a critically acclaimed album that should be flying off the shelves and all that stuff. I know I'm not a professional singer. I know I'm not in a professional studio. I mean, I'm sure if I was in a studio, I'm sure the quality of those cover albums or anything else that I've done musically would probably sound better. But, it is what it is.